Hello! Some of you have been asking for spoiler views off the back of my Terminator Dark Fate video. Thank you very much for watching the video, first of all. It's by far the most watched video I've had. So that's a little bit weird to see that there's still a little bit of clout to the... I don't know if it's people genuinely interested in the Terminator films or just seeing this fucking fat bald guy sat in his car talking about films. By the by, either way, thank you for watching the video so far. Yeah, okay, so some of you have been asking for the spoiler side of Terminator Dark Fate. Now, I'm not going to go through the film and review it start to finish with spoilers, because I'm driving back from home. I've been up since like 3 o'clock this morning and I'm dead tired, so I can't be bothered doing that, because the one thing that you need to know about me is I'm lazy. However, that said, I will go through kind of like the main sticking points for me, because the sticking points I had with the film and the spoilers kind of go hand in hand. So the film opens, spoiler warning, come on, I'm going to put spoiler on the thumbnail anyway. So the film opens with the videotape of Sarah Connor recounting Judgment Day in Pescadero State Mental Hospital from Terminator 2. And, you know, at that point I was kind of like, okay, right, I see the tying it, you know, they're not hiding, they're literally putting it on Front Street, that they're tying this into the events of Terminator 2. That's fine. And then we get kind of a shot of the future war sequence, a very brief one. You'll have seen it in the trailers where the Terminators are actually coming out of the ocean up onto a beach. And then with Sarah's opening kind of narration, she says like they stopped Judgment Day, and then those Terminators disappear, and then we match cut to the same beach in present time, where Judgment Day should have happened, but it hasn't happened, and Sarah's there with John Connor in like a cabana on the beach, getting drinks, you know, living the life kind of thing. She looks, I wouldn't say happy, but she looks kind of relieved and kind of content. And the first thing to note about that is the digital de-aging, which I think works really well. It's very believable, you know. The young Linda Hamilton that they show is very convincing, and they've de-aged Edward Furlong. Funnily enough, the de-aging stuff that they've done with Edward Furlong, they've kind of like de-aged him even younger than what he looked like in Terminator 2. And obviously there's a big thing about, you know, Edward Furlong was going, you know, he hit a growth spurt because he was going through puberty at the time. You know, his voice had to be redubbed at certain things, and he's noticeably older in some scenes than what he is in others in Terminator 2. But that's what you get when you cast a young kid in a film which is shot over the course of, you know, a long period of time. Again, it looks convincing. You know, the de-aging effects on those guys is actually really, really good. However, they are very brief shots, which helps kind of like, you know, the camera doesn't linger on the effect too long for your brain to actually go, there's something not right here. So, you know, yay for that. It works. And then we get a Commando era Arnold Schwarzenegger walking up off the beach, the T-800 Model 101, another one that's been sent back, and Edward Furlong immediately recognises him. He's like, didn't we just dump you into a vat of fucking molten lava, metal, and didn't you melt? But in that moment of hesitance, he's kind of like, oh, my surrogate father figure / robot toy has come back to me, kind of thing. Yeah, it's not to be. He pulls a gun out and he double taps him in the fucking chest. and Sarah goes skits and just fucking breaks down crying over his dead body. The Terminator spins on a dime, walks away. That's it. Mission completed. He fucks off. And John Connor's dead. So the central pivotal character of the entire Terminator franchise up to this point, the saviour of the human race, is now dead. And that is in the opening 3 minutes of the film. Now, to say that I had issues with that is a bit of an understatement, because, like I say, John Connor has been the focal point of every Terminator film so far. You know, and the reasoning behind this is that because they averted Judgment Day, the timeline's changed. So certain things have changed. Essentially, it's multiversed the Terminator. So although Skynet, sorry, I've got an itchy leg, you don't need to see me that close up. Although Skynet ceased to exist in the future, they still kind of cast ripples in the present, because obviously they've sent multiple Terminators back through time, which, you know, all of that retrofit kind of rewriting history, present, it just doesn't make any sense. You know, the whole Terminator thing worked much more elegantly. The whole story worked much more elegantly when, you know, Skynet's defense system was smashed. Kyle Reese says this in the first Terminator. They'd lost. They had no option but to send a Terminator back, and blah blah blah. So it's like a last-ditch effort of self-preservation on Skynet's part to send this Terminator back through time before the complex was destroyed by the Resistance. Skynet evidently wasn't, you know, too affected by this, because they were able to send back multiple copies of multiple versions of the Terminator, or Terminator models, back through time to give itself not a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. It had, you know, the whole alphabet, plan alphabet. So it seems like they had infinite resources, and they could have sent a Terminator back every single day. It just doesn't fucking work. You know, it's just, I know they're trying to reboot, but it's just, it makes it all so convoluted and messy. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I brought up an interview where James Cameron was asked about his thoughts on the Alien franchise and where it was going after his involvement and blah 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 blah. And he kind of, he said the things that he said when he was talking about how they killed off, spoilers if you haven't seen Alien 3, but how they dealt with Newt and Hicks from Aliens in David Fincher's Alien 3, where they were killed off screen in the opening sequence. Basically, you know, you didn't even get to see them. Fun fact, apparently Michael Biehn was paid more for the use of his likeness on the computer screen in Alien 3 than what he was paid in Aliens. So, well done for him. But James Cameron really took umbrage with how they treated the characters that he created for the Alien universe at that point. And said that that's something that you don't do when it comes to sequels. That's something that you don't do. You don't disrespect the memory of what came before. You don't make the events of the previous film obsolete. You respect them, you move on from them, and you kind of build upon them. I kind of feel like he's gone back on his own words there, because, you know, he's essentially done exactly the same thing as what was done to Hicks and Newt in Alien 3. You know, he's killed these characters. Although technically you see John Connor's death, it still negates the entire point of the franchise, is that this person has to live in order for the human race to survive in the war against the machines. But now that we've found out that by killing John Connor, it's changed the future. So although Skynet doesn't exist and Terminators don't exist in the guise that we know them, the T-800s and T-1000s, they've been replaced. So John Connor has essentially been replaced by Danny Ramos, Natalia Reyes' character in this, and Skynet has been replaced by another AI called Legion, and the Rev 9 is, you know, the new model of Terminator. They look similar, but they're built differently, so that explains why they're dark and they're not metallic looking like the T-800 was, and blah 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 blah. Again, just convoluted bullshit. And I bumped into another issue with, because the story sets up when Sarah Connor meets Mackenzie Davis's Grace character and Danny on the bridge that you've seen in the trailer, if you've seen the trailers. Sarah Connor assumes that after that's been explained, you know, you didn't stop Judgment Day from happening, you just changed, you know, what's happened. The future's been rewritten, but it still goes to shit for us. Sarah assumes that Danny is her. You know, you have that line in the trailer, you know, why are you so interested in her? Because I was her. Well, the story kind of takes its sweet time in getting to the point where it's like, oh, big twist, rug pull, what you thought was happening isn't happening. She's not the mother of the new future resistance leader. She is the new future resistance leader. And it's like this young girl, this young kind of petite looking girl, is not credible as a badass military leader, guerrilla warfare fighting, fucking scarred face messiah, you know? She's just not believable. That's not, and I'm not saying that's Natalia Reyes' fault. You know, she was cast in the position. That's the filmmaker's fault for miscasting her. You know, she just isn't believable in that role. And I guess, you know, they're going to try and explain it away by saying, well, Sarah Connor you wouldn't have thought Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 was the result of Sarah Connor in Terminator 1. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that kind of transformation, because I can't see Natalia Reyes putting on a load of muscle and leaning out like Linda Hamilton did in Terminator 2. I can't see it happening for the sequel, if the sequel happens. It's just convoluted bullshit, which is done for kind of political reasons. It's kind of, you know, in this woke age of, you know, equality, men and women can do just as much as men, and women need to be paid the same as what men do, and all this bullshit. We can't have a male, you know, what came before, white privileged male, can't be the seen as being the kind of saviour of the human race. And, you know, the fact that he was called John Connor, his initials JC, that was, you know, that's not an accident. You know, the Jim Cameron is not very subtle when it comes to his story. He can be, but with certain things, he even did it in Titanic, where he's telling a Romeo and Juliet tale, star-crossed lovers on, you know, an ill-fated voyage on the Titanic. Romeo and Juliet, and what are they called? Jack and Rose. You know, it's simple stuff here, guys. You know what I mean? It's a little bit on the nose. But yeah, she's just... And the way that they reveal that twist as well, it's kind of like, we're going to hold on to that little nugget of information until the latest point in the film before we have to reveal it, you know, before our hands are forced. Because the longer you keep a secret in a film such as this, the more important that secret is, you know, the more revelatory that twist is. and it didn't land. It didn't land whatsoever. And then we find the T-800 that killed John in the opening scene is, lo and behold, Carl, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And because Carl had fulfilled his mission, he's now free to wait for the future to catch up with him, presumably. That's how I understood Terminators would operate. They carry out their mission and then they just wait for the future to catch up, and then they just reintegrate back into Skynet, become part of Skynet again, and carry on doing whatever Skynet instructs them to do. Now, in Terminator 2, there's a deleted scene, and if you've got the Blu-ray or the DVD, the Skynet edition, you would have seen this. And I think it was broadcast on BBC One back in the 90s, as part of the special edition. The first time the BBC actually showed Terminator 2 on terrestrial TV, they showed the extended cut. Now, there's a scene in that where Linda Hamilton and Edward Furlong, after they've escaped the asylum and got rid of the T-1000 for the first time, and they're holding up in that garage, gas station type thing. They take the Terminator's chip out of his head, his neural net processor. They take that chip out of his head because when there's a line in there saying that they're set to read only when they're sent out by Skynet, and read only means that they are restricted in the ability to actually learn for themselves. Essentially kind of like neutering them, stopping them from going beyond their programming while they're on mission, a way to actually keep the dog on the chain kind of thing. So they take the chip out and they set it to read write, which essentially means that from that point on in the film, in Terminator 2, that the T-800 is able to learn. And that's how, by the end of the film, after they've got rid of the T-1000, the T-800 has that line where he's like, "I know now why you cry, but it's something I can never do." That's because he, like I say, from that point where they flip the switch on the chip, he starts assimilating information about human emotion, thoughts and feelings, and starts to because he is an artificially intelligent being, he becomes kind of sentient by the end of the film and understands emotions, and understands his limitations in feeling those emotions, because he understands what it is to be happy and sad and all of those kind of things, but he can't physically show it. He can't cry because he's not a human. That was a deleted scene, so it's fair to say that if you haven't seen the extended cut and you've only seen what was out in the cinemas, that piece of storytelling is not canon for a direct sequel, because it wasn't in the theatrical cut of the film. In this film, Carl, after he has fulfilled his mission, somehow gains sentience and has a family of sorts. He becomes kind of like the adopted father of this woman and her son, and through his relationship with them, in the 20 odd years since killing John Connor, he understands love and emotion and kind of personal attachment. He understands what he took away from Sarah Connor because he's a father now, and he feels bad for that, and he understands just what he did by taking away Sarah's child, because he has his own child to care for and nurture and all of those things. So in his guilt for that, he feels like he needs to give Sarah an alternative kind of mission in life. And it's revealed that he has been sending her text messages throughout the last 20 odd years with the locations and coordinates for other Terminators that are being sent back by Skynet through the timeline, so she can hunt them down and destroy them. And again, it's overly convoluted shit that just, it feels like they're trying too hard to tie this into the Terminator universe. I did say that this isn't a bad film. It's not a bad action film. It's a competent, if mediocre, rerun of what we've seen before. They've taken elements out of every Terminator film. So you've got the good guy T800 from T2. Yep, we'll take that. You've got the bad guy T1000 liquid, shape changing. We'll take that. We'll take the hybrid human / Terminator from Terminator Salvation. Yeah, we're like Marcus, but because we want to make it, politically correct and gender equal, then we're also going to flip that character around because we don't want any more males, white males in here, who are the good guys. So we're going to make, the protector, a woman this time around. And it's just, these are the things that I bumped into. I mean, if this was just any other kind of sci-fi actioner, it would be fine. I probably would have enjoyed it more. But when you attach the Terminator kind of franchise and lore to it, that's where it falls down, because the Terminator 1 was never meant to have a sequel. It's kind of a perfect self-contained film. It really is. It's just a chase film. It's Halloween but with a robot. That's all it is. And then, he's got a few extra layers with the grandfather paradox and all of that kind of stuff, which can kind of melt your brain if you try thinking about it too hard. But James Cameron managed to actually take what he did with Terminator 1 and he spun it out into a sequel where he gave things a little bit more depth, fleshed out, the characters a little bit more, took them in different directions, made an iconic female kick-ass character in Sarah Connor. Let's not forget that. It's not as if Terminator was devoid of strong female characters. She is one of the defining strong cinematic female voices. She's just as iconic as Schwarzenegger in the role of Terminator. So, yeah. Anyway, it's just, the more I thought about it, the more kind of like angry I get about this kind of shit, because like I said before, you've got the hypocrisy for James Cameron doing exactly what he, derided Fox and Fincher for doing with Alien 3 with his characters, killing them off and essentially just rewriting for what? Just money to spin it off into a trilogy? He's planned a trilogy here. The only props I can give them for this is that this film feels like a self-contained film. There's a start, middle, and ending. It doesn't necessarily need a sequel to feel complete in the way that Genesis does. So that's good. You can watch it as a standalone kind of film on its own, and it resolves itself by the end of the film. Yeah, you've got the tropes in there. I mean, every fucking Terminator film now has to have a T-800 protector lose his arm. Why? You're just nerfing the end fight. Just fucking pointless. And you also have to have him sacrifice himself. And as soon as you find out about the text messages and they're signed off from, this mysterious kind of sender, and it says "for John" at the end of every text message. As soon as Arnold's T-800 sacrifices himself, I knew exactly what his last line was going to be. I knew there was going to be a longing kind of pause while he looks at Sarah. Sarah looks at him, and there's this mutual respect, and he says, "for John." It's so kind of like, it's signposted, and it's just, for fuck's sake. And I hate that. I hate that when films just do the expected, surprise me in certain ways. Everything that happened in this film, you can see a mile off, and that's one of the worst things about it. And like I say, it's not as bad as what the trailers make it out to be, but let's face it, the trailers made it look so bad. And it's just so mediocre. I mean, the action scenes are competent. They start, like I said in the previous video, they start off well. There's practical stuff, but by the end of the film, it's just CGI nonsense, and it's just, there's no stakes. The emotional scenes don't hit in this film at all. They really don't. And it's just because you don't care. You just don't care. I mean, Linda Hamilton, it's great to see her back, but I think it was a mistake to actually do that to the character. All this film does is serve to discredit what's come before, make the two films that have come before, the two canon films anyway, that this is jumping off, obsolete. And I think if those two films were lesser films, it would have, this film could potentially make them, watching them, worse, or a worse experience, because you know where that story's going. You know how unfulfilling the story is going to be by the end of it. But I think the strength of Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 is enough that those legitimate classics will not be tarnished by this sadly mediocre work. And I think that's all I've got to say on that. So I'm gonna leave it there. It'd be interesting to see your comments. So, you know, do you agree with what I've said? Do you not agree? This is kind of new to me because I've never really had people comment on my videos before. But the comments that I've seen, you know, some interesting points. Someone raised the point about the music in Genesis being pretty good. I can't disagree. However, that's another thing that I think has helped, you know, the Terminator films post Terminator 2 lose their sense of identity. Brad Fiedel has not been there to actually do the scores, and I think the scores on the first two films are so integral to what makes a Terminator film a Terminator film. There's a video on YouTube that you can search out where Terminator 2, when Arnold goes in and gets his clothes out of the bar, instead of playing Bad to the Bone as he exits and snatches the shotgun off the barkeeper, there's like a fan edit where someone's actually gone back and used part of the score from the SWAT assault on Cyberdyne, and it's so much better because it doesn't tip the hat and say, oh, he's actually the good guy, you're going to be rooting for him. It maintains the kind of facade that which one's the good one, which one's the bad one, are they both bad? You know, it plays with the kind of mystery there. But Brad Fiedel's score for the first two Terminator films are so important and such, you know, you really do miss the quality that brings. I think it's something that can't be understated when you're talking about the Terminator films. And, you know, I know he's retired, so that's why he hasn't come back, but you know, they should have paid him the fucking money. Enough money talks, and you know, if someone was to pony up the dough, then I think he would have come back, and I think it would have made even the worst films infinitely better. So yeah, anyway, tell me what you thought. I'll be interested to read the comments, and hopefully I will be back soon with something else. Whatever is out, there's something out tomorrow, isn't there? Oh, I'm going to try, yes, Doctor Sleep. I'm going to try and get to Doctor Sleep after work tomorrow and see if that tarnishes The Shining. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, help me grow the channel along with you guys, and yeah, thank you very much. Until next time, have a good day.